GoodFellas is a 1990 American biographical crime film directed by Martin Scorsese, written by Nicholas Pileggi and Scorsese, and produced by Irwin Winkler. It is a film adaptation of the 1985 non-fiction book Wiseguy by Pileggi. Starring Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Lorraine, Bracco, and Paul Sorvino, the film narrates the rise and fall of mob associate Henry Hill and his friends and family from 1955 to 1980. Scorsese initially titled the film Wiseguy and postponed making it. He and Pileggi later changed the title to Goodfellas. To prepare for their roles in the film, De Niro, Pesci, and Liotta often spoke with Pileggi, who shared research material left over from writing the book. According to Pesci, the improvisation and ad-libbing came out of rehearsals, wherein Scorsese would give the actors freedom to do whatever they wanted. The director made transcripts of these sessions, took the lines he liked out most, and put them in the revised script, which the cast worked from during principal photography. Goodfellas premiered at the 47th Venice International Film Festival on September 9, 1990, where Scorsese was awarded the Silver Lion for Best Director, and was released in the United States on September 19, 1990 by Warner Brothers. The film was made on a budget of $25 million and grossed $47 million. Goodfellas received widespread critical acclaim upon release. The critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes called it arguably the highest point of Martin Scorsese's career. The film was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director, with Pesci winning the Best Supporting Actor. The film won 5 awards from the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, including Best Film and Best Director. Additionally, Goodfellas was named the year's best film by various critics groups. Goodfellas is widely regarded as one of the greatest films ever made, particularly in the gangster genre. In 2000, it was deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant and selected for preservation in the National Film Registry by the United States Library of Congress. Its content and style have been emulated in numerous other films and television series, including The Sopranos. Now let's discuss the casting. Once Robert De Niro agreed to play James Conway, Scorsese was able to secure the money needed to make the film. The director casted Ray Liotta after De Niro saw him in Jonathan Demme's Something Wild in 1986, and Scorsese was surprised by his explosive energy in that film. Liotta had read Pileggi's book when it came out and was fascinated by it. A couple of years afterwards, his agent told him Scorsese was going to direct the film version. In 1988, he met the director over a period of a couple of months and auditioned for the role. He campaigned aggressively for the role, but the studio wanted a well-known actor. He later said, "I think they would have rather had Eddie Murphy than me." Al Pacino and John Malkovich were considered for the role of Jimmy Conway, and Sean Penn, Alec Baldwin, Val Kilmer, and Tom Cruise were considered for the role of Henry Hill. To prepare for the role, De Niro consulted Pileggi, who had research material that had been discarded while writing the book. De Niro often called Hill several times a day to ask how Conway walked, held his cigarette, and so on. Driving to and from the set, Liotta listened to FBI audio cassette tapes of Hill so he could practice speaking like his real-life counterpart. Madonna was even considered for the role of Karen Hill, which later went to Lorraine Bracco. To research for her role, Bracco tried to get close to the mob wife, but was unable to because they exist in a very tight-knit community. She decided not to meet the real Karen, saying she thought it would be better if the creation came from me. I used her life with her parents as an emotional guideline for the role. Paul Sorvino, who plays mob boss Paulie Cicero, had no problem finding the voice and the walk of his character, but found it challenging finding what he called that kernel of coldness and absolute hardness that is antithetical to my nature except when my family is threatened. Former EDNY prosecutor Edward MacDonald appeared in the film as himself, recreating the conversation he actually had with Henry and Karen Hill about joining the Witness Protection Program. MacDonald, who was friends with Pileggi, was cast on a whim. While a location scout was taking pictures of his office, MacDonald casually remarked that he would be happy to play himself if needed. Pileggi called him an hour later and asked if he was actually serious, and he was cast. The scene was unscripted, with MacDonald improvising the line, referring to Karen as a babe in the woods. Goodfellas is a hard-hitting, stylish gangster classic, and is arguably one of the finest films ever made about organized crime. I've always been a huge Scorsese fan, from his work in The Departed to The Gangs of New York. I love his ability in particular to capture the mob mentality. But here we have a director finding his niche ever more so. This is one of the best portrayals of the mafia I've ever seen, and Scorsese's direction is completely and utterly on point. There is a flash here also of some of Scorsese's directorial choices, including freeze frames, fast cutting, and the occasional long tracking shot. None of it superfluous. The acting is absolutely fantastic, so good that it almost seems unscripted. The cast is ensemble in nature, and everyone adds a little bit to the movie in their own way. Now, of course, I always appreciate Robert De Niro, it goes without saying, but why he gets top billing when clearly it is Ray Liotta who is the star of the show is beyond me. Ray, who died on the 26th of May 2022, is absolutely fantastic here as Henry Hill. And he carries the movie on his back. I'm sorry his career never really reached the heights that it fully deserved, particularly after a performance like this. Once again, Joe Pesci is absolutely outstanding as the vile, scary, and unhinged Tommy DeVito. Pesci is just so damn believable, you can't help but despise him during this magnificent, outstanding performance, for which he fully deserved his Oscar. De Niro is faultless as Jimmy Conway, as you would expect him to be, but for me, De Niro realizes he's a supporting character in this film, and his role is almost understated as he plays support to the Liotta and Pesci's over-the-top characters. For me, this is one of the truest and most accurate depictions of the mafia and how it really functioned and worked. Lorraine Bracco is also excellent here in what was a very challenging, emotionally demanding role of Karen Hill, Henry's wife. I also love the narration aspect, and it almost feels like a documentary style of the mob lifestyle. Fascinating, thrilling, and unnerving, you cannot take your eyes off the screen, even though it runs for 2.5 hours, as it's so sharp and so fast, it never falters or wavers. This film hasn't dated a day. Good films like these seldom do. And if you're a film buff, this is definitely one to watch, as you see a master like Scorsese doing what he does best. From its outstanding performances to its fantastic, albeit unnerving story, this film is truly a classic, and is well worth watching time and time again. Goodfellas gets a 9 out of 10.